Deep down in his gut, Oliver felt that Leo was leading the two of them towards an irreversible mistake. Yet he could not bring himself to stand up against his friend, who would surely berate him in the most insulting way possible for being a sissy. While Leo's idea of fun seemed to reside in the public humiliation of a miserable boy, Oliver had wanted to spend the evening playing D&D, or maybe a small session of basketball. And yet here he was, following Leo down 4th Oak Road and heading to the house of Monty Quill to beat the latter up in retaliation after he'd publicly called Leo out in class for wrongfully bullying him. He felt a visceral discomfort as he remembered the tales of the unknown world his grandmother used to read to him. People are not what they seem they are. Anyone can be anyone in disguise. Dude, why are you walking so slowly? Leo had turned around to face Oliver, seemingly feeling his resistance. I don't know, man. It's just that. When you called me and said let's hang out, I thought we'd relax and chill and all. I didn't really feel like spending my Sunday beating up somebody. Leo stopped and sighed. He put a hand on Oliver's shoulder. Look, man, both of us are best buds. Anything happens to you, I'll be the first to respond. I expect the same from you too. Let's just go, Oliver responded, shoving off Leo's hand from his shoulder a little too strongly. They walked in silence past the peaceful shops that had a low audience today. Everything was calm, a little down, a little too quiet. A couple sat in the window of a coffee shop, beaming at each other in silence. A butcher prepared thick fillets of meat for customers who had ordered, glancing suspiciously at the two boys as they walked past with their baseball bats, swinging them in a threateningly melodramatic fashion. Give me a penny, please. A frail voice cut through the silence. Oliver jumped at the sudden sound that had come around from somewhere very close by. He stopped abruptly, much to the annoyance of Leo, who sighed again at his friend, backtracking to see what all the fuss was about. What the heck? Oliver trailed off. A withered old man sat in the corner of an alleyway, almost hidden behind the dumpster in the most pitiful state imaginable. Bits of rotten food were spilling over the sides of the garbage can onto his frail body, which had been discolored with the layer of grime and dirt on it. Most of his face was covered by the hood of his jacket, all invisible to the boys except the pair of crusty green lips that peeped into view occasionally. Leave him be, Leo said dismissively. Let's get going. The old man interrupted suddenly, pointing towards a little dirt-covered tin box that stood on the ground. It was pitifully empty except for a few coins lining the bottom. If you give me a penny, good fortune will come your way. I promise you that. Enraged at the time that was being wasted in the fruitless conversation, Leo faced the old skeleton. Oh really? And why couldn't you bring good fortune your own way, you dirty freak? Do not treat me rudely, dear, the old man said. I am merely a traveler. All I ask for is a penny. Shut it, Leo screamed, startling the old man. Stop blabbering and work like everyone else. The man smiled, exposing blackened teeth that had rotted in their places. I am working, you just don't know it. On that notion, Leo decided that he'd had enough. He stomped all the way to the old man and swung his leg towards the tin box, toppling it over and spilling the half a dozen coins all over the pavement. There you go, here's your penny. Leo screamed at him, heading off. The old man continued to smile despite this, not looking up even once to see the boys. Oliver was puzzled at the fact that this old man had made no attempt to retrieve the coins spilled across the pavement. Pick it up for him, said a small voice in Oliver's head, but it was too small for him to act on, and the weight of picking up all the grime-coated coins from the pavement all seemed too much for him. He turned away, not looking back again. The wind rustled strongly as the old man watched Oliver and Leo head away. As they disappeared down the road, he let the hoodie fall back with a sweep of his crusty hands to reveal two empty hollows which glowed red with a hellish fire. People are not what they seem they are. He chuckled for a good while. You said he lived here. Oliver screamed through the roaring of the rain slapping the pavement. Yes, he did. We must have taken a wrong turn. Leo screamed back, trying to hold the soaked baseball bat while desperately shielding himself from the rain. Let's go back and renavigate. I'm not going back now. I want to go home, Oliver said, determined to end this madness. He looked around him as the rain and thunder plundered down more violently. He knew he couldn't walk all the way back home. It was a good 30-minute walk, and every drop of rain felt like a tiny bullet. It was eerie how different Oak Hill looked in the rain. Not a single person was in sight, and the houses looked awfully unrecognizable. Oliver had been past Quill's house before, and none of them seemed like it at that moment. Looking around him a little more, a gnawing feeling grew within Oliver. Something was deeply wrong. This part of town had never existed in Oliver's memory before today. The houses seemed deserted and dilapidated, their foundations all crooked and weird. He looked at his friend, who was busy trying to get his phone to work after half a liter of rainwater had seeped into it. "Damn it," Leo muttered. Dude." Oliver shook Leo to get his attention. "I've never been here before. This is super trippy." "Shut up, man. You and your weird theories are so irritating. Let me call for help." Apart from the rain pelting down with all its force onto the surface of the earth, another sound seemed to emanate through the disturbance. Chink, chink, clink, clunk. Oliver froze where he was. He slowly gained the courage to look around gradually, his eyes scanning the place frantically, not knowing where to look. He didn't even bother telling Leo, knowing that he'd just dismiss it as another baseless delusion. Chink, chink, clunk, clink. It got louder by the second as Oliver braced himself for whatever was to come. And then he saw it. Every hair on his arm and neck stood up as he looked into the face of the familiar figure that stood behind his friend, peering over his shoulder and smiling in the most sickening way. In his left hand, he held the coins Leo had spilled all over the pavement. Leo felt the warm, rotten breath hit the skin of his neck as he spun around quickly, facing the creature that stood before him. There was something so inhumane about his face, something so viscerally disturbing, that Oliver felt physically nauseous if he gazed at it for too long. It was as if someone had tried to sketch a human face from memory and then modeled it on a real body. Not exactly wrong, but not quite right either. His eyes were too wide and fake, smile was too lopsided, and his nasal proportions were all wrong. "Are you lost?" The old man smiled gleefully. Leo frowned at him, unsure what to make of the situation. He felt the primal feeling of danger rise through him as he gripped his bat tightly. "Come on, Oliver. Let's get going." The old beggar chuckled, stepping closer. "I don't think so." "Back off, man," Oliver shouted, his voice quivering in fear as Leo swung his bat uselessly in the air. "Look around you," the man continued chuckling, waving his arms around him. "You are in my home. I have the power here." "What? What do you mean your home?" Leo asked. "Purgatory," the man said. "You are with me in purgatory. You cursed yourself and brought your own existence here after you disrespected me at the door of my house. I ripped you apart after that and threw you into the trash can. It is the gate to my house. Of course, you were no longer alive then. Everything you remember after you kicked my penny box is just a bunch of false memories to make the game more interesting." "What game, man?" "Look, I'm sorry, okay?" Leo pleaded through the rain battering his face. Oliver looked around him, trying to make sense of his words. Beyond the street they stood in, fields stretched out into the darkness, swaying with wheat. A wheat field in purgatory. His heart thumped a little louder when he looked a little closely, immediately wishing that he hadn't. They weren't wheat stalks. They were people. Billions of people just stood there in limbo, swaying in their places as the rain beat them for all eternity. "It's called catching the prey," the beggar said. Now that Oliver had opened his eyes a little more, he realized how much stronger this thing looked as compared to on the street. The demon beggar stood up a lot taller and possessed a hungry look on his face that reminded Oliver of a rabid dog. "The rules are simple," the demon continued. "I have 6 coins, 3 for each of you. They are from ancient Greece, belonging to a king I consumed yesterday. His flesh was wretched, too rubbery. Nevertheless, these are his. I will flip the coin and you guess if it's heads or tails. If you guess correctly all 3 times, I will let you go. If not, then I shall consume both your young prime bodies and souls." "Delicious," the demon hissed, licking his lips. Oliver stared in horror as the demon let Leo go first. His friend looked at him desperately through the rain, finding out no way to save themselves. As the creature let the coin fly through the air and rest on the palm of its hand, he looked at Leo with a smug expression, asking him to make the call. "TT tails," Leo stuttered anxiously, trying not to focus on the fact that his entire life depended upon a silly little stroke of luck, which sadly wasn't in his favor today. The demon opened his palm to reveal a heads-up coin, smiling gleefully at his prey as black saliva dribbled down the side of his mouth. He looked at him hungrily, reminding Oliver of a coyote toying with its prey. Time slowed down as Oliver stared at the visceral horror unfolding before his eyes. The demon opened its mouth, unhinging its jaw to make it wider as the flesh on his cheeks ripped apart to make room for the bite he was going to take. With one swift move, he latched his now horrifyingly wide mouth onto Leo's entire face like a mask, whose screams were muffled under the gajillion teeth that had embedded themselves into his flesh. Black saliva dripped down the edges of his bite, mixing with the blood that leaked out wherever his teeth had punctured him, all getting washed down with the pelting rain. Bit by bit, he dragged his snake-like mouth further down Leo's neck like a slithering reptile, until Leo's attempts to live subdued. He hung there motionless, attached headfirst to the old man's mouth. As the demon slowly made its way through Leo's body, it kept glancing sideways at Oliver's frozen body that was too terrified to have kneeled over to puke. The boy thus stood there, frightened in the rain, covered in his own vomit, hearing the sound of his best friend's flesh being ripped apart. The old man crunched through some bones, swallowing to take a break. "You're next," he said, smiling, bits of flesh peeping out from between his rotten teeth, eyeing the boy for his next meal.
Thank you for watching my first attempt at horror story narration. I hope you enjoyed it.